Coming up, what an excellent day for monologues. Well, howdy folks, and welcome to Minute 89 of the Exorcist Minute, a show where we endeavor to examine, extrapolate, and excavate The Exorcist, minute by terrifying minute. My name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Kynan Diaz.
And we'll be your holy guides on this journey through what some have called the scariest movie of all time. Okay, so our minute begins with Chris saying, "You tell me you know for a fact that an exorcism wouldn't do any good."
And it ends with Kinderman seeing someone at that infamous window. But I would say also, or something.
Duh.
Well, I don't know which is worse, actually.
Yeah. Right? As we discussed in previous minutes, right? Like, would you rather have a ghost or a demon or like an actual person? Like,
It's your daughter.
It's
I
your
don't
daughter.
know. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, something's afoot at the old McNeil house. Something's afoot at the old McNeil house. Yeah. I wouldn't go up there if I went. Well, no, but yeah, let's go there. Let's go there.
Let's extrapolate it.
Yeah. We're back at the top of this minute, and you'll remember, folks, Chris had just started this monologue, which we all remember is different from a soliloquy. How?
Well, you taught me, Professor Clark, that a soliloquy is when the character's all by themselves, or maybe it's meant to be in their head or something, but they're not actually addressing a different character. And a monologue, like separate from a dialogue is between the two of them, and a monologue is one person, one-sidedly talking to them.
Yes. So we could even to bring in even more academic verbiage into here. You could say that a monologue is diegetic.
Oh, yes, I think so, yes.
Right, because it's happening in the world, right? So, Mark Antony is talking to all the friends and Romans, right? He's saying, like, lend me your ears, blah, 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 right? But we could say that, Hamlet, is the to be or not to be soliloquy is, all in his head. So nobody else is, it's an actor falling in the woods, right?
Oh, but be careful now. There are some readings of the Hamlet speech that say that he is not giving a soliloquy. He is giving a monologue because he knows that Claudius is listening.
Oh, ooh, clever Billy. I mean, I'm talking about Billy Shakespeare, not Billy Friedkin or Billy Blatty, right? All these Billies. Is that what you got to do? Is that the creative gene? Is just like naming your kid Billy?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah.
Yeah, Chris is a monologue because she's giving it to Karis. Yeah,
she's monologuing. We caught her monologuing. But yeah, so yeah, it's addressed to Karis, right? So she's continuing this monologue, and yeah, like guys, we joke about monologues, right? But like when I was in high school, we would get these books of monologues from various plays as part of our like curriculum in acting class. And they were always the same ones, right? They were the most famous ones from each play, right? To Be or Not to Be from Hamlet, Friends Romans from Caesar, Out Damn Spot from Macbeth, right? Like He Was a Boy, Just a Boy from Streetcar, right? Yeah. Why am I trying to become what I don't want to be?
No, wait a second. What? From Streetcar, I'm gay, Lester. I need to do the monologue.
From
Streetcar. Oh my, you can't just go past. I love someone too, and the person I loved, I lost. He was a boy, just a boy. When I was a very young girl, when I was 16, I made the discovery, love all at once and much, much too completely. Yes, Lester, we can't go by these things. Thank you.
I had to move away from the mic today.
Because they're so loud, such rapturous applause to me.
Yes.
No, you can't mention a streetcar monologue to a gay man of my generation or older and just continue on like nothing's happened.
Oh, that was wonderful. That was an excellent rendition, Kynan.
I don't want realism. I want magic. Did anyone ever tell you look like a prince out of the Arabian Nights? Oh. Boy, young boy.
It's like I'm watching the movie right now.
Yes.
I'm your host, Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Blanche Dubois.
Can we just have her doing like all of the Exorcist lines? That would be great.
I would be absolutely fine with that. Me and Mrs. K, we get all the best passes to all the best movies. Young father. Did anyone ever tell you you look like John Garfield? They're the same movie.
Boom. Folks, there it is.
There it is.
We've closed this circle now. That's what he said. Reagan! Hey, Reagan! Karras just got his shirt ripped. And he's outside in the rain.
Yeah, he got his shirt puked on.
Right? Yeah. There you go. Right. No. All right. And then she appears at the window. Oh, hey, kind of like. There we go. We brought it back. But yeah, I'm bringing these monologues up, folks, these famous monologues, because they were the ones that we saw again and again in these collections of, young men's monologues or young women's monologues, these little paperbacks that you would get at the bookstore or at the school library or something like that when you were preparing for your audition class or something like that, right? It was a hit parade of all the top monologues, all the most famous monologues. But that also meant that in those acting classes that I took, they would appear again and again in the auditions, right? So the teachers or the directors would see them again and again and again, right? And for good reason. They're beautifully written, so they would always be appearing in all of these books. But because of that, our teachers would say that if you're going for an audition, don't do that one. Do something else that they haven't seen before. So, for example, if you're auditioning for Lady Macbeth, don't do Out Damn Spot because they've seen that one a billion times, right? That's one of the ones that appears in those monologue books, right? Sometimes you're not even allowed to do something from the play. It has to be thematically adjacent to the part that you want. So you might choose something from another play, another time period that reminds them of Lady Macbeth. And I guess, okay, well, we've been teetering on the edge, so here we go. We're in the Shakespeare Trap now. So,
hello, Shakespeare Trap, my old friend.
Yes, right? Every time I doth think that I am out, he doth pull me back in. So, for example, like if I was auditioning for Iago, I would come in there with, a man walks into the... No. Iago from Othello, right?
Right.
So they got auditions for Othello, and I'm going in for Iago, right? But unless they specifically ask for it, I'm not going to do an Iago monologue, right? And a lot of times anyway, they want you to do two monologues, right? A dramatic one and a comedic one, just to see your chops. So if I'm aiming for Iago, I'll do... Now is the winter of our discontent from Richard III, right? Where he's like, I'm the bad guy of this story, and I'm going to let you know my plan. And then I'll mix it with a comedic monologue from Much Ado About Nothing, where Benedict is justifying his feelings for Beatrice. And he's also commenting on how silly the rules of courtship are, right? And those two monologues will show off your range. And if you combine them, it sort of gives you an Iago-ey flavor, right?
Right.
That sounds gross.
Yeah, what is the Iago-ey
this
flavor?
Fondue is all Iago-y. Like, ugh. Yeah,
right.
right.
It's whatever the opposite of umami is in a bad way is Iago-y.
How's your burger? Oh, it's very Iago-y. Ew,
Yeah,
did they not cook it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
They've done whatever the opposite of cooking is.
Yeah.
They've done it.
They just let it sit out on the counter and monologued to it. All right. Okay.
Yeah, like they tried to revive it with like the crash paddles, knowing it was not going to work. But they did that for 20 minutes and then finished it in the oven.
Yeah. Ugh, yeah. All right. Okay. I think we're good here. Out, damn Shakespeare! All right. Okay. So all that to say, if there ever was a monologue to go into those little like paperback collections of best dramatic monologues from movies. For The Exorcist, this would be one of them.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
This would be the Chris MacNeil monologue. So if it's like, hi, my name is Lester Clark and I'm auditioning for Chris MacNeil, the director already knows which monologue you're going to do. It's going to be this one.
Exactly. Yeah, we said in the last minute, I think, I believe so, that this is where, Chris being an actor starts to come to fore, right? Is she doing this as a monologue? Like yes, I believe her that she's doing it because she really has these feelings, but she's also like, bringing her her acting chops, right?
Yeah.
To convince him.
Yes, exactly, right? So she has that extra kind of like Chris McNeil power that she can, the power of her voice, the power of her or her performance, right? And she can use that power in the real world as well, right?
Right.
Isn't that just so meta, right? It's like we got an actor who's playing an actor who's doing a performance, but it's like it's in the reality of the scene, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's the power of acting, baby.
The power of acting compels you. We hope that it compels Karis, right? That's our hope, right? Okay, this is actually fun. Like, Kynan, what would be the other monologues in this movie, right? So you get that little paperback book, right? You go to the school library, you get, it's like, oh man, I'm auditioning for, a show, the school play tomorrow, and I need, men's dramatic monologues or women's dramatic monologues, right? And I know The Exorcist, so yeah. So who, for each character, what would their monologues be?
Oh, geez, that's really interesting. Like Karis's, I don't know if he does monologues, right? He says he like, we're talking about nothing, and then he's like, I think I've lost my faith, Tom.
Yeah.
Right. Does he have a monologue here?
It's hard for, like, I'm thinking about it now, right? Oh, so we got Chris nailed down, right? She's this one right here, right? I'm gonna
Kinderman has a bunch of fun ones.
Yeah, right. He's do you like movies, Father? Right, like
yeah. That's part of the so when I was in high school, I didn't know any better that you're supposed to just pick the monologues that are already written as plays as monologues. So the monologue I developed for my audition pieces from Death of a Salesman as Happy Loman, but I adapted it, which I didn't know you weren't supposed to do. So it's a speech it's not a speech. He's talking to his brother Biff, and I took out Biff's lines and then I adapted it. Which you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to change the work of the master. So I'm sorry, Arthur Miller and Rebecca Miller and Marilyn Monroe. I apologize to all of you. But I changed it all, which I didn't know. But but if you did that with Kinderman and took out some of the back and forth with Karis, it would still be really good monologues.
Yeah. So I think so Karis would be. Yeah, that's the trouble with this movie is, like, aside from like this part right here, there's not a lot of like just one person talking, right?
Yeah, Father Dyer has one, but it doesn't necessarily have an arc to it. It is a monologue that you would want for your speech where he's talking about his ideal version of heaven. But it's a good piece. It would show you, but you'd have to really like go in and break it and like try to like cry at the end of his speech about him, and they'd all be looking at me, the headliner, and every night, oh God, every night they would come for me.
See, they would and that's the difference between films and plays, folks. We would take Dyer's and they would be the perfect place, Kynan. So it would be a callback to his idea of heaven when he's giving Damien his last rites down. It's like it starts with, it's like, are you sorry for all the sins you've committed? And then he's like, I'll see you soon, Dimmy. I'll be up there too. I'll be up there, and it'll be a solid white nightclub, and I'll be playing, and you'll be there with me.
Right, exactly. We'll be the headliners every night.
Yeah, but sad folks, not comedic like we're doing.
Right. They'd get a real actor. Right. Not us, Chuckleheads. Yeah, they get someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's Dyer. I think Marin would be that thing on the stairs.
Yeah, that's
right?
Good stuff.
Talking about it's like, why this girl, right? And it gives his answer. Or it could also be just the exorcism itself.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Well, you could do anything as a monologue if you're good enough.
Right.
Kids.
Yeah. Folks.
Just read the phone book or read the Bible. And
Reagan would be, well, this tape recorded thing is the longest thing that she's done, right?
That's pretty good stuff. Yeah.
The deleted one. Why Mom, why do people have to die? I think that would be a good one, right? Or something with Captain Howdy, right?
Yes. If I were auditioning for Reagan, I would do Captain Howdy and not Reagan.
Right? Yeah. So it would, and you would conceivably, like, if we're doing this like a stage production, the person playing Reagan would be the person playing Captain Howdy. Right?
Oh, of course.
So you'd need an actor. You need an actor who's like got some good range there.
Yeah. A real Linda Blair.
Yeah. You'd need someone like, I don't know, Linda Blair. Yeah. Let's see.
You could do the Horseman, of course, who's only exists in our version of The Exorcist. TVWTH, the version with the Horseman.
Yeah, the version with the Horseman. How many versions do we have now? The version we're writing in our head, the version we've never seen, the version with the Horseman.
But
that's the one we're writing in our head anyway. But
right, but that could be riveting on stage to have the Horseman.
Absolutely riveting, right?
Yeah.
It would be what's an adjective with horses?
Equine.
It would be It would be. My heart would be galloping the whole time. I'd be, you know what, the audience, they'd be chomping at the bit. All right. We gotta get out of this. This is the dumb pun.
Otherwise known as the Exorcist Minute with Lester and Kynan.
But yeah, okay. So back to this minute in this universe where we have The Exorcist the movie
and no Horseman
Oh, right. We got Chris and Ellen Burstyn given their all in this monologue here, right? Like, you tell me that an exorcism wouldn't do any good. And rather than focusing on her face, we are locked on Karis's expression. And usually, Kynan, this is a technique I love, right? Like showing us the reaction of something as a sort of a hint to how we should feel. But here, we're seeing Karis, and his reaction doesn't really match with how I want to feel right now.
That's
like Chris, Chris is right, but he's given her this look like she's crazy.
Yes.
So is this not that technique that I just mentioned? Are we not supposed to mirror Karis's reaction here? Like, I'm just thinking, like, if this were that type of scene, he'd be like, oh my God, I see the light of God in her, or the power of a mother's love, and he's like awestruck. But instead, he's looking at her like she's crazy. So maybe this isn't the type of shot. Like, what do you think?
Well, it's complicated. I mean, his job is to listen to people. That's what he does for a living, and he's trying his best. But what she's saying is crazy. It is cuckoo bananas, as we say on this show, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is smart because we're going to have to convince Karis all over again. He's going to go away, and then he's going to have to convince himself, right? He's going to listen to tapes and things. So yes, she gets to say her bit, but this isn't the scene where she convinces him. It's actually a scene where she loses. She doesn't get to, maybe they're still on the same team, but he's not sure that he likes his scene partner.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. I think we have two different readings here. Yeah. Okay. So so we end back on Chris, back on Ellen Burstyn, and she strikes the table to emphasize her words. Right. And I want to talk about this because as fierce as she is in this moment, that little pound on the desk reminded me of the striking of the wall way back when we discovered that Burke was dead. Hi, Burke. We're expecting it to be this big, like, boom, right? To match her emotions, right? But once again, it seems kind of muted, right? Especially after we've already seen Captain Howdy, and we'll see it even more later, banging the walls and causing the doors and the ceiling to crack, right? Just making these really big booms. And here's Chris with her frail little human body, and this is all she can do, right? But I really think that this has the opposite effect here because we hear that little bonk, right? That she gives the table.
Kabong.
Yeah. Like, that's the physical, but then we look up and we're like, oh shit, right? Like, Captain Howdy better watch out, right? Because we look at like actually like how Chris is standing and like what a perfect visual we got here, folks. Because we got Karis in one corner, right? In near total darkness, right? Looking up to the heavens. And then directly across from him, we got that dumb bird, right? Which we said before looks a lot like Pazuzu, right? and he's squared off with Karis, right? In this threatening pose, right? Like, it's like, I'm a scary demon, right?
But you're really a dumb bird.
Yeah. But behind him, towering, is the spirit of Chris, right? The resolve and the determination of Chris, of Mom, right? And both of them, like Pazuzu and Karis, are dwarfed by that, by her, right? And I really, really like that.
Yeah, but again, it is complicated. Like we have these powerful outbursts of emotion by Chris, but she's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily being heard.
Mm.
Still, that's a recurring idea. So maybe she has the closest she's ever gotten with Karis, but
Mm.
still, So we're doing things to give not mixed messages, which isn't my point, but
Mm.
like mixed emphases. So like
Mm.
at UNLV Film where I teach, we say that like the director or the writer, whoever's in charge of whatever part of the filmmaking process we're in, is
Mm.
emphasizing or de-emphasizing things.
Mm. Okay.
So like a close-up emphasizes the feelings of the character,
Right.
and a wide shot emphasizes the relationship with the space. And so when
Mm.
you're in a close-up, you still have the space, right? But you
Mm-hmm.
have de-emphasized it. It's not the most important thing there. The most
Oh.
important thing is the actor and then the subtext.
Ah.
So we have mixtures here. So we have, yes, this highly emphasized performance by Ellen Burstyn, which, as you say, is incredibly strong. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I like it. I'm not diminishing it at all. But part of what Friedkin and Owen Reisman and the editors are doing is to diminish it a little bit. They are giving us mixed emphases here. So
Mm.
yes, we're allowing Ellen Burstyn to give the kind of performance that if it were a close up on
Mm-hmm.
her would probably convince us. But since the close up isn't on her, it's on Damien. And
Oh.
Jason Miller is giving a performance where he's just not quite right, not where he's saying no or yes. He's
Mm-hmm.
just not quite sure. Right? Is
Yeah.
she insane?
Mm.
Then it has some cross wires for us, and we're like, yes, it is strong. I want to believe, but at the same time,
Mm.
yeah, it's not that time yet.
I like that. So it's kind of putting us in Karis's position here. It's like,
Yeah,
oh wow.
I think so. Like, yeah, we're looking at this, and it is really strong. But am I moved by it? Right? Did you convince me?
Mm.
It's
Oh, I
almost
really
impossible
like
to
that.
convince. I mean, yeah. Anyways, he's going to take some time. He has to go think about it by himself.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That is. I didn't even think of that interpretation. Thank you, Kynan.
Because if this were the scene where she convinces Karis, then yeah, it might be close-ups of her, right? Or
Right. And then, I mean, like then we would have a hard cut to Tom Birmingham, and it's like, so who do you want to get to the Exorcist?
yeah, exactly,
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
We wouldn't need the other stuff in between it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, okay, she convinced us, and she
Yep.
convinced him. So yeah, what's the rest of these
Well,
scenes
there we
about?
go. Right.
Yeah. right. What else are we doing here?
But yeah, to add to that, we don't get a resolution of this scene, right? Like that was the resolution was Chris saying like once and for all, like, no, this is how this movie's going to go from here, right?
Right.
But Damien isn't necessarily convinced just yet.
Yeah, so let's think about it. Where we do have some scenes with Klein and Tanny not being convinced by Chris, and in their scenes where they're looking at their radiology reports or whatever they are, and looking at them, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense. But they don't have what's going to happen with Damien's scene coming up, where they're like, that doesn't make any sense, and Chris is right? Like I've listened, I've considered, because they're not really considering what she has to say.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. And again, right. Just goes to show us, folks, that Damien is the right guy for the job.
Right.
The right person for the job. Just because like his lack of conviction makes it easier for him to be open to possibilities, right?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird like juxtaposition of like you would think that, I don't know, like we were talking before about like, oh, what if she went to Father Dyer and Father Dyer was all about, it's like, hey, yeah, let's go, do this exorcism thing. Like I feel like because Father Dyer and yeah, let's just like throw all the other priests in there, right? Like Father Dyer, Father Birmingham, Father, it's like all those other guys. I feel like if she went to them, they have already decided, like maybe their faith is like strong is such a weird word, right? But let's say more cemented, more established, less permeable, right? So you go up to, Father Dyer, you go up to Father Birmingham and say, hey, I think my little girl is possessed by, the devil, a devil. They would be like, yeah, well, let's take her to a psychiatrist first, right? It's like, many educated Catholics don't believe in the devil, that whole thing, right? I think they're more firmly entrenched in that.
Yeah, that's interesting, right?
Yeah. Damien is wondering, he's lost, right? So he's a little bit more open to, it's like, well, maybe there is, like, there's either nothing or there is a God, and maybe there's a devil, like he's more open than the others, I think.
That's a really, really interesting point, right? So all these things that place him to be the hero, right? Like that's, not every screenplay has this, but it's the ideal sort of, if you have this, it's like, oh yeah, that's money, where this main character has flaws, but then it turns out that those flaws are his strengths, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but not everyone has it. Yeah, good luck. Aspiring screenwriters, it's very hard to pull off. But yeah, so his grief is what I was thinking about that puts him in the right place. But yeah, I like what you're saying as well. I mean, they're tied together, right? His grief is his his grief is fueling his skepticism and his agnosticism, etc. Right? Like, so all of those are connected, but yeah, those are what makes him the right person for the job.
Yes. Actually, yeah, Kynan, that reminds me. It does happen right around here in the book. There's this really great couple of sentences where Chris and Karis are talking, and he tries to assure her, and she looks up at him. And so the book says, she lifted a helpless, tormented face to the strong, sad eyes, saw strength, saw pain. She trusted the pain. Right? And it's like, I think that's because that's in this Venn diagram, in this venomous diagram, that's the thing that, that links them together, is this grief, is this loss, is this wondering what is out there. Right. And so not only is that the thing that makes them see each other and understand each other, but that's going to be the thing, I think, that's gonna bring them out, right? And that's the thing that these other folks, Father Dyer, Father Birmingham, these other faithful priests maybe don't have, or we don't know their stories, but like for this story, they don't have the tools, right? We think it's a flaw, but it's actually a tool. Yeah. Right. I love that. So we cut from there, and now we're back outside. Karis comes out the door, and he looks so tired. His eyes aren't even open here, and he eventually starts down those steps, and his eyes are lost in shadow. Chris appears now at the door. She's all wrapped up in a robe, holding herself to keep warm, and also still holding herself together. And what a sad, there's nobody to hold you and keep you from falling apart, so you got to do it yourself, right? And she's been doing that this whole movie, right? But every time you see it, you're like, somebody give this lady a hug.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Because that's what she's doing. She's hugging herself, right?
And we were trying to figure out how many layers Damien is wearing, because Chris has so Reagan has puked on his top 2 layers, his blue outer Georgetown jacket, his gray sweater underneath it, and that's why in the basement he's wearing a green button-up shirt with a white t-shirt underneath it. And so she's cold, is my point. Like, he's dressed to go out there and jog around, and she's freezing.
Yeah. But yeah, so Karis looks back up at her, and there's this beat where Chris just gives him this look of pain and also gratitude, because, I don't know, are we supposed to understand that he has agreed to help her?
I think so. Right. Yeah, I think so. I don't, to go back to what I was saying, I don't know if he has agreed with her what's going on, but I think he's going to come back. He's not going to leave.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's what I was worried about. Because in the book, he makes it clear that whatever this thing is, right, if it's possession or psychosis, he's going to stay with her and help her until it's resolved. Right. Yeah. So I was worried that I was drawing stuff from the book.
No, I think that's definitely happening here. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because that's one of the reasons I love this character so much, is him being like, I'm not going anywhere, right? Whatever it is, I'm going to help you, right? So yeah. All right, good. So before he heads out, he has to ask this question. He has to ask it. He says, did Reagan know a priest was coming over? There's this pause, and it looks like Chris is realizing what he's implying, and then she says, no. We cut back to Karis, looking down and inward again, and really quickly he asks a second question. Did you know that my mother died recently? And we can see how much just asking that question hurts. A pause. Yes, I did. I'm very sorry. But almost before she's finished, Karis is asking another question. This is the question. Is Reagan aware of it? And here, again, he looks up and into her eyes. This scene is heartbreaking. You can see how hard it is for him to talk about his mother, to the point where he essentially breaks up one question into 3, right? See what he did there, right? To make it less painful, right? He made sure that Reagan and his mother never appear in the same sentence, right? So it's, did Reagan know a priest was coming over? That's about Reagan, right? I'm here to help Reagan. Did you know that my mother died recently, right? That's the painful part, right? Completely separate. And then, is Reagan aware of it? Not, is Reagan aware that my mother died? Just, is Reagan aware of it? That, to me, is so real. Whenever we talk about loss or tragedy, it's like we don't even like naming it, right? We were talking before about like evoking, right? Like specifically, unless it's surrounded by the proper solemnity and respect. So, did you know that my mother died recently? It's like, okay, he can say it once and it's solemn and we're talking about death and Chris's response is appropriate then, right? It's like, yes, I did. I'm very sorry, right? That's what you say to that question. But that's not the question he wanted to ask. He doesn't want to talk about this at all, right? If he can help it. But he has to know, is Reagan aware of it? And so he has to break that question up. He's like, no, is Reagan aware of that thing I just said? Don't make me say it again. And because this is the thing he really wants to know, again, he doesn't care if Chris knows that his mom has passed, right? The only reason he's asking is he wants to know if Reagan knows.
Right.
And so for this last question, he looks Chris full in the face, like, which can read a couple of ways. I can see him being like, look, this is important for helping your daughter. I won't be mad. This is actually key. This is essential. Help me help you. Or he's pleading like, this teasing has gone too far now. Like, did you really bring me here and prep your daughter by telling her that my mother died? Like, is this the worst practical joke in the world? Right?
That hadn't occurred to me because that's terrible.
But that's where his mind would go. He's like, because the other option is that's the devil. Right? And so like at that point, Kynan, like, which would you rather have?
Right.
We talked before on the show about like sometimes the existence of the supernatural can almost be comforting. Like there really is something bigger going on here, right? Like that's the grand plan. There are rules, and certainly in later scenes in the book, Karras gets hopeful. There's this beautiful scene like right after one of his other visits with Reagan where like he's witnessed something miraculous, and he goes back to the church and he says the communion and he's holding up a wafer and he's looking at it as if for the first time again. He's like, this could be real, right? As for right now, this is the first time he's seen her. I think he's still in doubt, but this thing with his mother definitely has him shook. And he's trying to get all the facts from Chris, right? Like, let's make sure we're all on the same page and I know all the details. And this one little detail, like he has to know, like painful as it is, like, does Reagan know about my mother, right? Like, did you tell her, like, to sort of, I don't know, what like, grand, charade you're doing, right? But yeah, so that's the only other, possibility, right?
Yeah.
And so Chris replies, not at all. And the way she says it and shakes her head, it feels like she has no idea what he's implying, right? Like that doesn't even enter her mind, thank God. Like, did you get that, Kynan? Like her first answer is like, no, Father, I didn't tell her a priest was coming. Right. It's like, I know what you're getting at.
Well,
right?
But she's thought about that, right? Because she's been warned of psychosomatically incepting her daughter with these ideas of religion, right?
Precisely.
So she's already been thinking about that. This other stuff she hasn't been thinking about. And I think even when he asked her, did you know my mother died? I think that is more like, hey, did you, like, as she's reading it, hey, I'm sorry, I've been weird. I don't know if you heard my mother died, right?
Oh, okay.
Because otherwise, why else does she think it's happening? And then maybe it's even like, oh, yes, I forgot to say, hey, I'm sorry, your mother died, because I did know that, right? You're supposed to say, hey, my condolences.
Yeah, right? So she completely she's a little bit confused as to why he's asking that. So like this one is like no, Reagan doesn't know about your mom. Why do you ask, right? Like she completely missed the implication, right? And I think that's good, right? I think if she answered no the first way, I think Karras would still be a little bit more suspicious, right?
Right.
But she's genuinely confused here, which now genuinely confuses Karras, right? So again, he looks down, looks inward, right? This just doesn't make any sense. He's thinking, unless. But then Chris follows up with, why do you ask? And Karras is like, yeah, why did I ask that? Right? Like he's not sure he wants an answer. And so after a pause, he decides it's not important. Good night. Right? He looks up at her one more time and then he turns to leave. And we follow him down the driveway and out the front gate, looking so much like Blatty first described him, right? A lonely black cloud in search of the rain. We then get a shot of Chris still looking after him, and her eyes are big here, right? It's not the expression of tired despair that I was expecting. Kynan, like what is going on here in her face? Like, what is she thinking?
Yeah, it's pretty unnerved. It must be unnerved from this conversation, which is, a pretty high bar to set based on everything else she's seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, this weird questioning and him this awkward exchange that he has with her here bothers her enough that she is like, oh God, well I'm gonna be thinking about that all night instead of yesterday what my daughter did to me.
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna think of. So if you're ever out there, listeners, and you're like, oh, people don't remember these awkward things I said 10 years ago. Oh no, Chris remembers.
Yep, Chris Pepperidge Farm remembers. You remember that thing that weird priest said to you at the bottom of those steps? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Do you know what she did, your cunting daughter? Pepperidge Farm knows. Pepperidge Farm remembers. So for me, I wonder if the second question is finally like clicking for Chris, right? And now she's thinking like, what happened up there? Like it was what did he see? What did he hear? Right? I think just like for Karis, I think both of them are feeling the weight of what could really be going on. And we see both of them like processing it in this scene, right? Like she just met this guy. They talked in the park. They argued a little bit in the basement. And that's what she knows of him. But I think right now she's realizing like, I brought this man of God to go see my daughter and it has affected him. Like she's genuinely like, I don't know, with him being shook, she is shook. His shookness is shaking her. Right. Even though she lives with Reagan, now she's kind of like, what the hell is up there? Right?
Yeah. Like I have a fear of flying, but I do have to fly. And so then what I had been doing was saying, well, I'm just going to look at the flight attendants, during turbulence. And if they're not worried, then I'm not worried. It's like, but then every once in a while you see them go, oh God. And they go, oh no.
You're not supposed to look that way. Isn't that? I thought I read somewhere like there's like training that goes on with flight attendants and also like pilots and everything like that. When you're up in the air and shit's going down. Well, no, that's a bad way to say it. When turbulence is happening and stuff like that. Like I might be wrong. Air people write in.
Please, sky people, write in.
Sky people. Please write in and tell us like is there some kind of like training that you go through to kind of like, because you're the, I don't know, like the emotional anchor of the God, anchor is a bad word too.
Straight to the ground.
This plane's going down and you just turn, it's like, oh my God, Uncle Tito's. This is really funny.
It was really funny.
Yeah.
Airplane's supposed to be in sky. Hey. But not this one.
It's a juxtaposition. It's It's like plane underwater and boat in sky. And car in house? What?
Yeah, but so she's looking at it. She brought him over to calm her down and now he's freaked out. So it's like, oh,
exactly.
God.
That's
great.
This is not what I was expecting. No.
Yeah, more of this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really like our next shot here. We're sort of brought into it by way of this blue car that passes in front of us. And then we see Karis as he begins crossing the street. And now the camera is following him. It looks like he has something in his left hand. It looks like a bag or a sock or one of those wool caps or something. Is that the sweatshirt? I thought he was wearing the sweatshirt.
Oh, he might. Yeah, that makes sense that he's taken it with him.
Maybe, yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah, because that's what she handed him.
Right. Now, he makes it to the other side of the street, and it's here that another car obscures our view. But this one isn't moving. This one was here the whole time. And I'm not kidding, because we realize that this is Kinderman, and that he has probably been parked out here watching the McNeil house this entire time. And the way we are shown this, I also really, really love. It's not that we cut to a shot of Kinderman in the car watching Karras leave, and then, he looks at the house. We are still on Karras, and then Kinderman's car obscures our view in the foreground, and we see that it's him, but even then, we don't see him. We see his reflection in the mirror. So we're still on the shot that was looking at Karras. We've just shifted focus. I really love that.
Yeah, it's a lot like those railing shots that we've grown to love and that we're noticing when we're looking at this, where, we don't realize that the camera is really behind some foreground element, or that. So it's similar here, except that we're also adding a rack focus so that when we get to the mirror, we can pop, there's Kinderman.
Yeah.
Kinderman's out to watch you.
Yep, Kinderman's gonna get you.
He gets all the best passes to you.
Yeah. Do you like crimes, Father? I see lots of crimes. Oh, boy. All right.
I see all of you committing your crime.
Yeah. Well, who's in it? You?
Anyone ever tell you look like you committing crimes?
I was going to say. Anyone ever tell you look like a criminal? Anyone ever tell you look guilty? Oh, I've seen this crime before. I know how it ends. With you behind bars, yeah. But yeah, we can see from the mirror that Kinderman has been watching Karras cross the street. His eyes then shift back to the house. And so now the camera goes back to the house, specifically that infamous window where we see someone or something is at that window right now. We see the shadowy form of a person behind the curtains. But how can this be? Reagan is tied to the bed and sedated. Perhaps we'll find out in the next minute. But for now, that is all my notes. Kynan, is there anything else we missed?
No, I think we got it.
All right. Folks, this has been another excellent Exorcist Minute. I've been Lester Ryan Clark. You can reach me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Kynan Diaz. And you can find me on Letterboxd and Instagram as Howdy Kynan.
Yeah. We got our listener group, Compelling Conversations. Go check that out and request to join, and we'll let you in here with us. Thank you so much to everyone who has shared the show by word of mouth or on social media. And a big thank you to everyone who has given us a 5-star ratings on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you listen to our show. We really appreciate it. It's going to help our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. And speaking of growing and finding more cool people, we are now a member of the True Story Network. That's trustory.fm. So please go check them out and all their other really, really cool podcasts. But yeah, Kynan, I think that is it. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I am, Lester.
Folks, until next time, the power of Blanche Dubois compels you.
He promised me a 5-star review, but then I was unlucky, deluded. How could I have trusted him? I laid my heart in his hands, and he smashed it.
Oh,
how he smashed it. There was something different about the boy, a nervousness, a softness, and tenderness. It wasn't like a man's, although he wasn't the least bit feminine looking. Still, that thing was there. He came out to me for help. I didn't know that. I didn't find anyone out until You got to stop me.
No.
I'll go all day.
No, that's what I want.
I'll make this 4-minute monologue 2.5 hours long if you let me.
All right, and anybody listening after the music, right? This is how you let us know that you stayed until after the music. Go on, leave a 5-star review, and in the comments, like when you read the comments, just all caps, STELLA.